Welcome back to the video. Today I'm going to show you how to read from a file and then print it to the console and then also write it to a different file. So we have two files here. We have input.txt, has some numbers and then a name of a basketball player. And then we're going to print it to the console and then also write it to this file called output file. And then we're going to be doing this in C. And don't forget this import so we can actually open the files. So we're going to say file and then the little star. We'll call it input. We'll just call it input file. So this is declaring a pointer of type file and is pointing to a file structure. And we'll do the same thing. We'll say file, say output file. Okay. And now we're going to say the file names the pointer of the file names we just declared, and set that equal to fopen. And then we're going to pass in the name of the file. In this case, it would be input.txt. That's the file we want to open. And then it wants to know what we want to do with it. So we'll say R, which stands for read. And then we'll say output file equals to fopen again. In this case, we'll pass in the name of our output file, which is output.txt. Input.txt is just the name of our input file with some text in it. Output.txt is just blank. We're going to be writing to it. So we'll say output.txt, comma. We don't want to read from it. We're going to write to it this time. So we can say W. Okay. And then we're going to declare some variables. We can declare a string. We'll just call it first name. What I want to do is I want to get LeBron's first name inside of a variable, and then we could just print it or whatever. So you could say it's gonna be a character and it's gonna be 25 characters long or whatever. So we're doing. Then we'll define another one. We'll just call it last, and then we'll also make it 25 characters. I don't think anyone's name is that long. And then we'll declare an integer called number. I'll just leave it. We're not gonna assign nothing to it now. And then we'll say points. So I'm not gonna get everything from the input file. It's just a little example. I'm gonna get his first name, last name, and his number, and then we'll say 30 corresponds to he scores 30 points a game because it's LeBron or whatever. The way we could read from the file, we could say fs_scan_f, and then we have to pass in some. It's called parameters or arguments. I'll go with parameters. I always get those two confused. And then they want to know which file we want to open. In this case, it'd be input file, because that points to the file, but it has the input in it. And then we'll say, you know what? Let's read everything at once. We're gonna read the first three, I guess. I don't know what they're called. Call them words, and then his number. We'll read all of them at the same time. So the way we could do that is we're gonna say percentage s. So that means we're reading pretty much the little percentage s says we're gonna be reading a string. Then we'll do percentage s again, and then percentage D for an integer. I just think of it as D for digit. It's probably not correct to think of it that way, but that's the way I remember it. And then we'll read first, comma, last. I'll explain it right now. And then we'll do the little ampersand and then number. So it has to point to the location in memory for the number. Because first and last you're passing in the location in memory, but for number you actually have to tell the compiler, hey, this is the location in memory. We want to read from the file and put the I guess the number in. And the way this does it, fscan it's gonna read something, and then once it sees a white space or a tab or the end of a string, it's gonna stop. But technically we're calling it almost 3 times, so it's gonna read a string, move on until there's an empty space tab or whatever, read another string, move on to an empty space tab, and then it's going to read it an integer. So in this case, it should read LeBron James 23. That should correspond to first, last, and then number. So that should make sense. And then we could do fscan just reading something once at a time. We could say fscan once again from input file. In this case, we just want to read. So we'll be done with the first line because we called it 3 times, and it's going to see that there's nothing after it. So it would stop here. Wait, let me explain it. After LeBron, it would stop because there's empty space. After James, it would stop because there's empty space. After 23, there's I guess an end line character that the line doesn't continue going, so it's going to go to the next one. Kind of makes sense if I just do it. In this case, we want to read. We're done with the first line. we read all the way up to 23, so now we're going to read the number 30. So we could say, I don't know what those are called, percentage, and then D is for like integer. I just think of it as like as a digit or whatever. Little ampersand because we want to tell it where location in memory to like write it to, and then that corresponds to points. So that makes sense because the first three reads three. I mean, I guess the first. I guess these are words. These are names, and a number. So that corresponds to first, last, and then a number. And then we're done with that line. So we're off to this line. I guess 30, which just corresponds to how many points per game he scores. So now it's all stored in our variables. Now we can just literally print it. So we could say print f, and then we'll do a semicolon. We can make it look pretty. We could say, we'll say his name, and then we're gonna tell it that it's gonna be a string, and then another string. Percentage s is like, think of s for like string. I don't know if you understand. We'll say new line character because we want a new line, and then we'll say first, last. Oh, it's name last. Okay. So name string goes to this string goes to that string, and it should just print first, and then last, which is just LeBron James. If we run our code, so we're getting an error somewhere. What did I miss? Oh, so I actually named it wrong. fscan f. So now our code should run, and it'll print name and LeBron James, which we read from the input file. And then we could pretty much just print his points as well. We could say printf, and then we'll say points. This is just a little dumb example. Percentage D says we're going to read an integer. What even is it in my keyboard? There it is. D, then we want it on a new line, so slash n. And then we'll just, the variable that holds points. In this case, points would just be 30. If we run this code, I'll say name LeBron James, he scores 30 points. So that's cool. So we're printing it to the console, but then we could also write it to like another file. And the way we could do that, we could say f printf. We could say f printf again. No, instead it was before it was f scanf. Now we're going to be using f printf, and we have to tell it to like where to write it to. In this case, it would be output file, and then let's make it look nice. Well, we could say player. This is just going to be like a string. It's going to print it, and it's going to be expecting kind of like this one. It's going to be a string. So percentage s, percentage, where is it? Percentage s, and then we could do slash n. So that pretty much handles like what it's expecting, and then we get pass in our actual variables. We'll say first, comma last. There's a train, and I hope you can't hear that. All right, and let's try running this, see if we get any errors, or see if it prints to like that. It writes to the output file. So this is like the text we printed ourselves as a user, and this is what we printed. And then percentage s is going to be expecting two strings. The two strings we read were first and last. We'll just hold the name LeBron James pretty much. And then what we could say, we could just print as points per game. Pretty much same thing, f, print f. And then what we're going to write it to output file. And then we'll write this string to make it look nice, points per game. And it's going to be expecting percentage D, which is like I just think of it as decimal. And then slash n for new line. And then we're going to be passing in a decimal or an integer, just like a number. It's going to be an integer and points. If we run our code, was it f printf? No. Yeah, f printf. I misspelled it because it's f scanf, f printf, and then f printf. So it's like kind of confusing. But it's stored as points per game or whatever. We could do, let's get the rest of the input. So we could call, let's see, we're going to have to declare some more variables. We could say int rebounds, and then int assists. I don't think I spelled that right, but whatever. we could pretty much just copy and paste this and put a space so we know it's not together. So we know we're doing something different. So we're going to be reading from the input file. It's going to be a digit, but instead it's going to go to rebounds. So, what am I doing? Alright, rebounds. So if you go to the input, we've already done 30, that corresponds to points, and then there's a space, so pretty much like the pointer's right here. So now it's going to look at the number 10, and it's going to store that inside of rebounds. And just to prove it, we could say, so we're going to just change it up, rebounds per game, and then we'll say rebounds. And then if we run this, it just write it. It should just write it to the output file. So now I did rebounds per game and then 10. And then if we pretty much do the same thing again, just copy and paste. So it read all the way to the number 10, and it got stopped because there's an empty space. So the pointer's right here. So now it's going to read the number 12. And we'll say the number 12 corresponds to assists. So F scan F again, and then we'll use fprintf to print it to the output file, not to print to the output file, to write to the output file, and then we'll say assists per game. And instead of rebound, we'll just say our variable assists. And if we run our code, output, it'll say everything from the input.text we read, and we kind of formatted it to make it look pretty. The name is LeBron James, 30 points per game, 10 rebounds, and then 12 assists per game. So we read everything from like the input file, we wrote it to the output file, and then we also kind of printed it to the console. We didn't print everything, but kind of get the gist of it. If this helped in any way, please leave a like and subscribe.